Basically, we're just trying to like redo the system so users feel like they're getting personalized mental health care. And this would be for long-term, like outside help.
Okay.
So this is like a little graphic we made, kind of explaining the new system that we're going to try and implement. I guess just like look at it.
Okay.
Tell us your thoughts, especially anything that like stands out to you, or maybe you would you want us to improve.
When it says a drop-in location, what does that mean?
So that's the drop-in satellite locations that are like implemented across campus. So whether it be like tanks or specific locations like
There's one in like the College of Engineering,
Okay.
and the law school too. They have a bunch.
Yeah, it looks like streamlined. It looks like it is a system that makes sense.
So, have you finished going through all of it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have any questions?
Not that I even like think of.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you feel like the process is like too long or like too complicated?
No, because I feel like it's kind of a process that has to be fairly long and complicated for it to be effective.
And then what do you think about like the meet and greet idea, sort of?
I think that's good because like the process of like finding a professional is like somewhat tedious, and so like a meet and greet type situation might make it faster.
So part of our process is that we're going to surprise people with personalized care kits. So this is yours
Oh.
for the time being.
Okay. So like we'll see.
This is like part of our,
That's cute.
our process.
So it's like part of step 3 in the process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, look through it.
Yeah. Okay. I like this idea.
Are there any items that you think maybe you would, or any items that you would rather see?
Let's see. I guess like depending on like what
The person, right?
yeah, like what type of like situation it is, like if there's maybe put in like if it's like a much more like a card with like emergency numbers in, if it's something that's more like not like if people are more urgently needing something, you know. But otherwise it's like it's cute, it's good.
Okay.
Okay, so that's sort of it. Do you have any overall
Closing
feedback or other thoughts?
I don't know. I think it's good. I like this. This is a nice touch. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Wow, innovation.
Can we see everyone?
This is true innovation in design.
Sorry. True innovation, yes. Wait.
We see the two
It's okay. It's okay. It's good enough.
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
Okay, so what we learned, is that what we're doing?
Yeah. What we learned.
I guess a big thing was that she liked this part and like the importance of personalizing it for whatever issue people are dealing with.
she definitely touched on like the emergency contact list, so it definitely it's good feedback for us to incorporate.
I think it was also like when she was looking at the map, she said it made sense, and like even though there's a lot of steps, like it's kind of necessary for like this kind of situation.
Yeah. I think the meet and greet really like narrows it down for the person, so to make it like more straightforward and easy.
It was also interesting because she said that even though this process seems kind of long in comparison to the process that she went through, her process was extremely tedious, and this like wasn't in comparison. So
That's good. Okay.
okay, so basically this is sort of a redesign of the system of going through the Tang Center to find long-term mental health care. Yeah, so this is our like little chart of a proposed solution to that. And you can just like look through it, ask any questions, and then we have one other thing for you to look at.
So basically, your options are either call for an appointment or drop in physically. Is it still just the one location, or is there like multiple locations?
There would be multiple locations because there are offices throughout campus at like particular buildings, like the chemistry building or the law school.
So would the filter step be like a form you go through, or like you talk to someone about it?
So most likely we'll probably with like the application for a therapist, you'll have a survey and it'll like ask you like what do you have SHIP, what are your values, what are your preferences for a therapist, and then using that information we'll filter through like all the possible people we could get you in contact with, and then it give you a much more manageable list. Yes.
Is the 5-on-1 like 5 each?
Yes.
Okay. Not 5 therapists.
That would be a lot.
I like the brain. That makes sense. So would that be like so that's setting you up for the long term?
Outside the tank center. Yeah, because the tank center only has like the
So if you went through the rating system, you were like, I liked the person that I met with, would you like continue to go to that person?
Yeah, totally. So it's up to you. If say you didn't like your first choice, then you could like go back to your manageable list and then like meet another person, and then hopefully you will eventually have a happy break.
So what is the personal care kit?
I'm glad you asked. This is your personal care kit.
that you would receive in the mail or perhaps pick up.
Yeah.
Yes, we'll see.
Should I open it?
Yes, there's this in it.
Oh, wait, this is so cute. This is Stress Bear?
Yeah.
Okay. So would this be, like, what's like the time between step 2 and step 3?
Hopefully the list would come like automatically after everything gets filtered. If we do mail the care kits, I guess like I don't know what, like 2 to 3 business days for shipping. Otherwise, yeah, it should be relatively quick.
This is so cute.
Yeah, it's kind of falling off,
That's okay.
but you're supposed to be able to like prop it up to remind you like what your next steps are.
Oh, this is really nice. So would this be like tailored to each person?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were thinking about like having like a few items that would always be in there, but then there's like personalized items.
So this would be the 5 therapists.
Yeah.
And then, for example, if you said that you like to exercise or something to de-stress, like that's the sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, don't read through it.
Okay, I won't read through it. Hot yoga. You know, I thought hot yoga meant sexy yoga for a long time. I think it should do that. This is
And
really
that's just like a journal that you can write. Yeah.
Do these come with like guidelines or like direction towards like anything?
I mean, like maybe for like the journaling, the therapist would like include a note for like what are like things you could journal about and like why it's like helpful for people. So yeah, like she said, there's probably like a few items that will be standard across every kit. But, like hopefully some of it will be like more personalized, and like maybe if you have like a specific issue that like the therapist knows a lot about, like maybe they can recommend like certain books that can be like more tailored towards that. So.
Would that therapist be like someone that works at the tank center or one of these like 5?
I feel like it would be nice if it was like one of the 5, just because like those are the therapists that you would want to like meet up with later on to see if you'd be a good match. Yeah. But yeah, the logistics of it.
But also
I don't know.
possibly could be the tank center because you did talk to somebody when you like called or dropped in. So.
Yeah.
Would I have a way to like at step 3 contact the person I talked to in step 2? If I wanted to talk to them again specifically, would I be able to have their information or something?
That could be incredible.
Yeah, that's something we could definitely look into because I'm not 100% sure. Like when you call, do you actually talk to a therapist or is it just like a receptionist lady? But I do know that like you call to set up an appointment, and that is probably when you talk to someone, like an actual therapist at Tang. So I'll definitely look into that. But yes. Anyone?
Is there like particular feedback you would like?
Or just anything that you can think of, good, bad, things you might have thought of. Yeah.
I like this a lot. I think this is really cute. I don't know how this would work with like financially.
Yeah.
Obviously, I feel like this would, but I think the idea of getting like a personalized kit of things is really nice and has like makes it less impersonal, which is really good because that's what you're going for when you want therapy. With the 5-on-1, I've never I don't know how group therapy works in general, but is the idea to like introduce more people to group therapy?
I feel like the 5-on-1, it wouldn't actually be like group therapy, it would just be a chance for you to meet the therapist. So these wouldn't necessarily be therapy sessions, they would just be like 20 minutes where you get to meet the therapist. You maybe talk about your issues, you don't even have to talk about your issues if it's a group setting and you're uncomfortable with that, but just like getting to know them a little bit better.
Got you. In that case, then what if I like someone during the meet and greet and I'm like, okay, great, rated them well, and then I'm like scheduled to go meet with them for an appointment, and I don't actually like them in the appointment? Would I be able to go back to like
Yeah, so that would be like the whole kind of like the main goal of the rating system, to be to rate your experience with therapists, whether it's like helpful or not. It can be then reinforce the selection for the therapist.
Cool. What's the like projected timeline of this? Because I know one of my big things about why I haven't like actually reached out to Ship is because it takes forever.
Yeah.
So the thing we were kind of like discussing was the personalized mail get up to the third step would be maybe the 2 to 3 business days as it travels to wherever it's being shipped to, or if it's being shipped to, like, let's say the Amazon locker. So the idea is to be maybe like 2 to 3 days up to here, and then from here it kind of like I guess like we're trying to see like what would work better, because we did have a conversation of like having the meet and greet like early on, or from there just kind of like setting up an event where the therapists are able to come and have that meet and greet, and then kind of lead to step 5.
I guess I have 2 questions. One, do you think the meet and greet should be an option and you don't have to do the meet and greet? And second, what time frame would you be looking for?
For the meet and greet, I think that like ideally you would be able to have a session with them to see, like, you might like someone as a person very much, but then you don't like mesh with their style of therapy. I've had a lot of people I know like have that problem when they went to therapy, so I feel like it should be something that is like, it's not really like optional. I think there should be an option out of it, I guess, if you don't want to, but it should be default that you would have the meet and greet. Another thing is that like this requires a lot of initiative from the person, since you'd have to do the getting started and then like set up the meet and greet from picking the 5 people, and then also do the rating system and go back. So I feel like since there's a lot of different points of like myself having to initiate, I know a lot of people lose motivation or like stop trying to look for help just because that first step to look for help to begin with is already kind of hard. So possibly automating more parts of it might be helpful, to like automatically set up the meet and greet, or automatically like have the rating system like prompt you to do it more, just to like give a little bit of a nudge. And then in terms of the time frame, I feel like I'd like to have it within like 2 weeks. That would be really nice.
I feel like that's doable. Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I think so. This is really cute. I like that this is like a thing you could put up to remember.
Yeah, it's kind of rapture right now.
I think also doing like digital versions of all the papers and stuff inside would be helpful too.
So like sending like a follow-up email with like,
Yeah.
okay.
Because I lose stuff all the time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Action.
Or should we start?
She gave a lot of feedback, which I think was really helpful. Yeah, because she kind of went like for each step, she like clarified what it was and then gave her thoughts on that. And she brought up like a lot of good points about like, especially the part about there's so many like steps, people might lose motivation. So I think that's really something we should consider.
Especially like the fact that it's not necessarily that there's so many steps, but that there are a lot of like self-initiated steps and stuff, and like that would be really tough for people.
And it's good to send out the like digital emails of like all the forms and stuff, just because people can lose stuff.
That's true. That's good.
Also with the whole meet and greet thing, like necessarily, like I don't know what we were necessarily thinking, but the idea that like you could like somebody but like their style wouldn't match, so maybe the meet and greet shouldn't be a meet and greet, maybe that should just go directly to a trial. I don't know, but like that's something to consider as well.
It was like good how he like brought up like timeline too, just because like I guess like we hadn't really thought exactly how many days would pass in between like certain steps, and like I don't know if it's possible to do like the mailing thing from like within 2 to 3 days, just because like if you want to make it like more personalized, then like yeah, maybe it would take more time. But yeah, it's like something good to like think about.
Well, maybe there could be like 5 different things that are already pre-packed, and depending on who you want, just like put it in. And like shipping might not be too bad, considering like it would be shipping from here to a location very close to campus, like maybe even the units. And if it is the units, I know that now they have Amazon lockers in the units, and so I've seen people pushing packages to the unit, so literally you could just like place the package.
Oh my gosh, that's not safe.
I know. Wait, that's actually not safe.
Yeah, I know, it's weird.
I feel like it's definitely good reinforcement though to see the trend of like people really appreciating the personalized
Yeah, that adds like the whole personal part of it.
Yeah. And people really liked the whole, or like I don't remember if Hana did too, but they really liked the whole like you can put it on your desk thing.
Yeah. Like physical reminders of like the whole thing.
I feel like, I mean, at least, I don't know if y'all had the same thought, but at least for me, when we mentioned like meet and greet in like kind of like a fair type of setting or like an event type of setting, I envision it to be like one of the first steps, kind of like being automated. So kind of like as new students come in, they like have a chance to meet the different like therapists available, and then from there like kind of take away from that. So I don't know if maybe that can be something that we can also consider, maybe like moving it up or moving it, or kind of like seeing how it can be automated. At least that's what I just thought when I thought about the fair. Like, oh, it's the beginning of the semester, students come in, they meet, check out, kind of like the resources fair type of stuff.
I guess like when we were talking on Thursday, the biggest thing about like that sort of deal was that therapists usually only have like 1 or 2 open spots. So meeting like 100 students wouldn't necessarily be like a good use of their time, and they might be less like inclined to like come.
But I was kind of, wouldn't it change it in the beginning of the semester though, since like...
No, because like most therapists have like clients who aren't students and who have students.
But what about the ones that are like under 10?
Oh, I feel like this would be, I don't know, like I guess we thought that this was for outside not for Tang Help. I mean, I don't really know much about the process for Tang Help. We could probably easily apply this to Tang Help as well.
I think the issue with Tang Help might just be like, I don't know, like actually getting an appointment, because a lot of what I've heard is just it takes a while. Not that it takes a while to like set up an appointment. It's just like the appointment's like 3 months away or some nonsense.
Yeah.
So that's like a different issue, I would say, in comparison to like, oh, they have so many options, some of them are personalized help.
And then Tang Center also like it's not for like long term. I guess it's only like for like the 5 free sessions.
Well,
right?
I think you can buy more.
I think so too.
But it's just like you said, like it's really hard to set stuff up. And also, like low key, is the care even good? Like I don't trust Tang personally. I think a lot of people don't trust Tang.
I also was like wondering for like the meet and greet, the 5-on-1, just like how would that be like scheduled? Because I feel like if it's like 5 students plus like the therapist, like even scheduling like our own like meetings can be tricky. So like I don't know how that would actually happen in real life.
That's a good point.
I mean, I feel like maybe for that it could be something where it's like this therapist is coming to campus at this time, sign up if you want this spot.
I think that's a good way of doing it too.
Okay.
For
We
now.
can stop recording.
Good?
Yes.
Okay, so basically for our class we're doing a project for mental health, and we're trying to improve like the process of getting help through Tang, like outside help through Tang. And like this is basically like a map of what the process would look like. Do you guys want to kind of talk about it, or do you just want to look at it? Like, it's basically just like a simple diagram where people can just follow it. If you have questions.
So think of it as a system. So 1 would be step 1, then leading to step 2, and so on. just there.
Okay.
We're just looking for like feedback. So like if you like it, if you're confused.
Okay. So what would be in the personal care?
That's the second part, but I think we want you to critique like the process first, and then we'll show you.
Okay. So you call, that's like pretty standard logistics values, yeah. So you want me to correct you?
Yes.
Okay, because usually, because I've done this process before through Tang, usually you do like a call or drop-in location, and then you fill out like this form, like contract, and then you go in and do your first meet and greet, see if you like that person, see if your values align, and if they are like a good fit for you. But yeah, logistics and preferences, that's a good start. Do you want to get more specific into details with like who you're targeting? Are you like
We're doing it for students, and we're like trying to make the process more efficient. So that's why it's like different than Tang's.
okay.
Yeah, it would be for students who like maybe have SHIP, so they have to go through Tang, but they're looking for outside long-term care. Yeah.
It was so funny because
So I guess like a question that we'd be interested in is, would this process be better than what you've gone through in the past? Do you think it's worse, or like I don't know, what are your thoughts in comparison?
Is there more to this? Or is this it?
So this is like the overview of the process, and earlier you mentioned you asked what the personal care kit was, which is, I have no hands.
Nice, okay.
Yeah.
This is like part of like step 3. So like after you like filter and like say more about like what your preferences and what you're looking for, like then like you'll get this kit, but also like a more like manageable list of therapists that you can get in contact with. So yeah, if you would like to open it and like tell us what you think about what's inside.
Love that. Oh, that's it. Okay. Nice. Oh, I like this. Okay. Did you just create this list?
So it's like a sample like letter of what would be inside the kit.
Okay.
What is wrong with everyone?
Wait, what is the purpose of this again?
Make it more personalized, I guess.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah. Sorry, I meant like the purpose of this project.
Oh, so the purpose of it is to be able to provide more efficient solutions to mental health management as students here. So like we were saying, the whole idea was to kind of like redesign the system, put in place, and getting help from a therapist or a mental health provider. And so that's the key, the whole purpose of why we're trying to make it better, because we interviewed several users and we got a common like thread of like just the whole inefficiency of the system and how it discourages some folks of like actually following through, sticking through, and actually getting that help. And so this is our attempt to create a prototype system in which can solve that issue, or at least one of those issues.
Yeah. I like that. I also like this a lot. But I feel like, because for me, I talked to someone at the teen center. We saw each other like once or twice, and then she was like, you should use this site, which refers you to like therapists outside of Berkeley or around the city, and it aligned with like the gender and like race. So that's how I was able to find a therapist. So like I feel like it was efficient for me. So like I feel like this is doing more. It's personal, but it's also like an extra like step. Like you would have to wait to get this information. You know what I mean? Rather than like just getting it online.
I guess like our idea would be that like this information about like these people would be as soon as you finish like whatever survey or whatever. So you would get that information as soon as possible. It would just be you would also additionally get it.
Okay, yeah, I actually like that. Okay, that makes sense now. Okay, because now I'm reminded of the time when I was looking at it and it was overwhelming and like so this is a good idea actually. Okay, cool.
Okay.
Good. Nice, yeah. So I like this so far. Can I see what's next?
This is it.
Oh, this is
Yeah,
it. Okay, cool.
basically. It's just like an overview. Yeah.
What's your perspective on like step 4 to 5?
I think step 2, like visually, I just feel like it's a lot. So maybe split that up, or like take something out because maybe the logistics part out. Because I feel like this whole thing is like logistics, you know. So you don't really need to put logistics in there. I really like values and preferences. That makes it look. I just feel like with 3, it's just like too much. And then personal care kit, I like that a lot. Manageable list, like what do you mean by that?
Like a manageable list of people that align with your values and preferences or whatever, and that like you can contact and are like available.
Okay.
The idea is the manageable list would then lead you to like the meet and greet.
And the manageable list would be inside of this person.
As well.
Yeah.
So you could also get it as soon as you finished your.
Okay. I like that a lot. And then for a trial, what is that?
So the purpose of the rating system is to kind of like test out the therapist and see if like if you felt the experience was what you were looking for or whether it was not. And so the whole point of it is to kind of like reinforce that.
Okay.
So let's say you didn't, you would go back to the manageable list and meet another therapist, or if it did, just go to a happy brain.
Okay, cool. That's cool. I like that a lot. Do you like have anything in particular that you want me to like think about?
I guess one question would be like how much time would you want to like from the beginning to the end? Like, how fast would you want the process to be?
In my experience, it was pretty fast to get a therapist, but in most cases, it takes months. So I feel like this is a really good idea, like just having a reminder sent to you that you have options out there, and like it encourages me to actually go further into finding a therapist. So I really like this idea. I feel like it will speed things up for most people. But like for people like me who like need one immediately, like I feel like it's really not necessary. But as students, this is a good idea just because finding a therapist is very hard. It's like dating, and we don't have time for that. So yeah, I like this. Is that helpful?
Yeah,
Sorry.
that's really helpful.
Is there anything else you want to ask?
So is there like, would this all go into like one app so that we know the ratings of each of the therapists?
So the bigger idea is to incorporating into a digital platform.
Okay.
But as of right now, we're just kind of focusing on the system aspect. Yeah, but
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
that would be
like
the big picture.
when you would get your manageable list, like you would have ratings from other professors, like other students that are inside.
That's cool. I like that. I think this should like come to life because I would use it.
Oh, yay, okay. We'll try. Thank you so much.
Did you do this?
I did.
Oh, okay, that's
Yeah.
yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Photography.
Yeah. All right.
Sorry. Alright, do we start?
Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of really good feedback just because she had personally gone through the process at Tang, so she was able to like talk more about specific aspects of the system and like where it could be like more or less efficient for like someone who needed immediate care.
Yeah.
So I think that was good.
Yeah, it's like another perspective that we didn't specifically consider, but like should consider.
She's doing way better, honestly.
Yeah. And I think overall the trend is people like the personal care kit, so woo.
Good. Very good.
I guess I like how she said the kit helps her, like it would help people go further into like the process.
Yeah.
That's like what we want because people usually give up, so it's a good thing.
I feel like also it was good feedback to think about maybe reducing the steps within, or like the outcomes within the filter. So I feel like we can definitely like look into it a little bit
How to
more.
improve,
Also, just like the idea that like this isn't something we even consider, but like making the process look easy and simple, like not just making it easy and simple, but like making it appear easy and simple. We're good. Yeah.